Welcome to the Circle of Love and Light. I'm Dr. Jane Mountrose, your host and the founding director of Awakenings Institute, a nonprofit organization devoted to creating a more loving world. Today, I'm joined by my wonderful co-host, Phoenixx. She's a spiritual coach and healer, and our special guest, Harold Becker, who is the founder and president of the Love Foundation, which you can find on Facebook and also thelovefoundation.com. So to begin, I want to just mention that everyone is welcome here. And if you can, whether you're with us live or joining anytime during the week, please tell us in the comments where you're from and add your insights. We appreciate that. And I think others do too.
Yes.
Our focus today is on living every day with love and how we can access the power of love to bring more light to the world just by being ourselves every day in a loving way. So I want to begin by inviting the beings of light who surround us so lovingly in the higher realms to support us and create a sacred space for the gathering. So we'll start with an invitation to the archangels of the four directions, beginning in the east with Archangel Raphael, who is an angelic healer. And you may sense as he enters a radiant, sparkling emerald green light, which is beautiful, healing light. Next, we call on the Archangel of the South, Michael, who is a warrior and protection angel and is often experienced as a vibrant blue energy, which is strong and protective. To the west, we invoke Archangel Gabriel, the messenger angel, who is often experienced as diamond white light, divine love, wisdom, and guidance. And you can invite these energies in as they join us. And to the north, we call on Archangel Uriel, the element earth, and often a ruby red light. From here, we reach to the archangels who hold us in perfect balance between heaven and earth. And above us, we invoke the presence of Archangel Metatron, the angelic host actually of this gathering, and open to powerful golden white light flowing from our source above us, down over us. And you can just open to feeling that beautiful golden white supported light. We also invite Archangel Sandalphon, who brings up crystalline energies of the earth up into our space, with Metatron together and Sandalphon holding us in that beautiful balance between heaven and earth. And I realized also it wouldn't be complete if we didn't invite the love and light each of us holds in our own hearts and souls to light up this gathering with love. So we want to connect with that truth within us, which is love. For viewers, oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
I said always.
Right, yeah. And for viewers, if you wish to invite other beings of light to join us, feel free to do so now in the comments. Phoenixx, did you have anything you wanted to add, or Harold, to the invocation?
I am that I am. We are that we are.
That's so true.
Perfect.
So we begin. Wonderful.
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, so again, I want to welcome our special guest, Harold Becker, who has been with the Love Foundation. I think you said, we talked recently, and I think he said 21 years now. Is that right? 21 years?
Yeah, we started 2000.
Right. And I went to the website today. I was immediately impressed by a quote that was there on the front page that said, "To know where love begins, look within." And I think that's very reflective of what Harold and I talked about the other day, about how it's really a day-to-day, moment-to-moment thing for us to bring more love into the world. And each of us has that power to change it, to change the world, to bring more light in. So to begin, Harold, I'd appreciate it. I think if you would tell us a bit more about the Love Foundation and your focus on love, where that came from.
Well, I think we can all relate, and we sometimes forget where we come from in this pathway. You know, we have, most of us have lived other lives of working activity, families, and perhaps, even though we had inklings of awarenesses, there were moments where we became more aware that there's something else going on in life, and that began a
Right.
pursuit. So those of us sitting here and gathering and sharing tonight, we're actually sharing the fact that we kind of jumped on a different pathway, and we decided to explore what love and light means for ourselves. And my background certainly is indicative of that, coming from a business background, a business degree, and in 1990 walking away from all of it because I just wanted to, I was doing everything right, but I decided I wanted to be happy. And that shift of intention unfolded what's now 31 years and running in a completely different trajectory than I could have ever imagined possible. Writing books, doing things, exploring what became very prominent in my life in the early 90s. There only seemed to be one message wherever I looked, and it was a message of love. So I thought, well, if there's only one message of any messenger of any antiquity, why aren't we just focusing on love? So I decided to dedicate my life to focus on love, and more particularly unconditional love. And that became the seed of that first decade. We extended it and created the Love Foundation as a nonprofit in 2000. And with the simple vision of inspiring people to love unconditionally, which go back to 2000, pre-social site times, there were websites, but I mean, literally we sat there and we said, well, that's a great idea and great vision, but how exactly do you inspire people to love unconditionally? We were taking cues from things we had learned, and we were sharing that. It wasn't really until late 2003 when I got the idea for Global Love Day each May 1st, which is a celebration of our humanity. And we decided to launch it. Again, we launched it globally, and that was kind of the beginning expansion of all the work we had done thus far. And that's when we really started to realize how we could inspire people through things like Global Love Day, just reminding each other we're all in it together. A super simple idea. Love begins with me, celebrating our humanity, but really not anything anyone had done. I mean, we have lots of religious holidays. We have lots of, say, war-based conquest holidays. We have a variety of traditions and different cultural events, but nothing that actually brings us all together. So launching that first in 2004, we're now into our 18th year, actually starting our 19th year. Just sharing it out in the world each year around the globe. And it's been phenomenal for us because of the programs we offer through our nonprofit. That was the really beginning big one. But it also showed us that there were so many people with open hearts around the world. I say I'm so blessed every day I get to wake up interacting with people in every corner of the world that have come to this awareness of love completely differently than any of the three of us or anybody watching. It's such a universal, heartfelt understanding that people have awakened to in their own places, their own realities, their own families, their own communities, their own nations. And I get the privilege of seeing that globally on a regular basis.
Right.
Rather than being so American centric or Western centric or so culturally Northern Hemisphere, I get to witness the synchronicities of people finding us, saying that this is something that they always felt. And they may be the lone Indian in their reality. They may be the only person there, even with their family or community, but they feel that vibrant connection, and they find us and they feel a home with us because of this kind of universal message of unconditional love, this practical, pragmatic message. And it is out there and it is within us. And that's the beauty that, that's the circle of the love and light. It's out there and it's in there, and we are it.
Right. Yeah, the thing that happened to me is I realized that our heart, which is where we feel that love and where we radiate that love, is the center of our being, and it's our source of guidance and wisdom too.
Absolutely.
It's like, and that's where I found myself really. I was an architect, and I, right around the time that you were transitioning in the 90s or early 90s, I decided architecture was not for me too. And that's the same thing. When you get it, you get it.
Yeah.
How was it for you, Phoenixx?
It was similar. It happened incrementally for me, where I was also into business. I'm still into business, just business of
Right.
spirituality. But coming from a family of business, I naturally just went into being a business coach as well, and was satisfied and successful, but something was missing. Something was just missing, and I went in search of it by asking questions. And well, it came back to really and truly what I've always loved, which was that internal journey, that journey within to explore who I am, and which then led me to the entire unfolding of the cosmos. And so that's my journey. And I made a decision probably just last year that this is what I want to dedicate my life to 100%. I just went all in and take control, because it was just like Harold said, just like you said, Jane, this feeling, this deep feeling that this is what I must do. This is what I am meant to do, at least now, and to give all of my attention to it.
Right. Yeah.
And everyone's called, not everyone answers.
Yes.
And that's what I think is so, because we do come from such diverse backgrounds, and I can attest to, just so many people that I've interacted with the Love Foundation, for example. And we do come from all different types of backgrounds. And it doesn't mean we necessarily, some of us gave up our previous careers and just walked away or walked towards something completely different. Yeah. It doesn't have to be that way. I think the biggest thing that I came to realize is that love wasn't something outside of me. It's something within me. It's already there. It's not something that I have to go seek, because most of humanity, if you listen to love songs on the radio or in this, in your CDs or streaming, most of it's, we're trained to look for love outside of ourselves. We're trained to look for something to complete us on the outside, materially, physiologically, romantically. And that's so far from the reality. And I guess it works so well for my business background, because that logical side says, this makes common sense to me. And nothing that I've explored, it wasn't taught to me in my childhood. And it really isn't taught or shared in any kind of a mainstream way, which is part of why we do it through our channels, through our nonprofit, because we just basically enjoy sharing the awarenesses, and then let everybody make their own conclusions, make their own understanding. So we're not saying here are the 7 steps, in fact, as you invoke the angels and the archangels, my second book, Unconditional Love, An Unlimited Way of Being, its original working title was Unconditional Love, Freeing the Angel Within. Wow. And the unlimited way of being is actually my definition for unconditional love, living in every moment as all things are limitless and all things are possible. So a way of being, and being an unlimited way of being, that to me is love, which is very different than, these human connotations that we extrapolate to physiological love, or we use it as a verb to say, oh, I love myself, or I love somebody else, when in fact we really have no concept, because we're identifying with it outside of ourselves, when in fact it's right here. It's always been here, will always be here. And that's what's so, there's nothing to look for, and then you give up that search, and then you begin to allow that love to expand, and you can literally bring it into a vibrational conscious awareness, and you can share that love with all of every thought, word, feeling, deed, and action. This isn't something we have to be our own best friends first, because we're the ones that are living with ourselves 24/7 from birth to death. And if we can't become a really good friend to ourselves, we will never have friendships of meaning. We will never have experiences of meaning. It really is, again, for this common sense part of this makes so much sense. Why didn't anybody tell me this early on? But that's been the exploration, that's been the findings and the understandings, which is why we do what we do.
Right. Yeah. Right. And it's so practical. What you were saying is, and there's evidence of it from heart math. They found that radiating and vibrating love actually is like an anti-aging. And it's not that surprising.
I'm 102.
Because
they laugh. Why are they laughing?
The thymus gland, which is right in the heart area, which is related to the heart, is our source of aliveness. And when we're in a joyful, loving, kind of a place, we feel alive. And I think if you can understand how important that is for just living your life, then it does, like Harold said, it's not just this like airy fairy thing up there. This is practical stuff.
And you see evidence of it in every waking moment, every conscious moment, every moment we're present. Because let's face it, we still somewhat linear, so we can go back into our memories and we can go jump forward in our imagination. That's to be understood. But more we can bring ourselves back into this moment, which is the only moment that we are physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually connected. And that's where our breath comes in. That's the totality of who we are. That brings us back into the moment. And then the past fades away. The future is not an issue. You become more present. And that's when you start to witness, like you might see a tree in front of you, but if you become more present, you'll start to see the animals and the flowers and the wind and the sun, and you'll start to see the dance that's going on beyond just the mental concept of a tree. And if you can go beyond the label of a tree, then it becomes even more experiential, because then you're just a flow of observation of the totality of life in action. It gets a bit esoteric, but this is like, again, I reiterate, practical common sense. This is from people that have been in the everyday working world. We're not in the woo-woo fantasy world. This is like really becoming very present and alive in life itself, which is exactly what this beautiful planet is designed for. This is supposed to be a planet of intense joy. It's such beauty, such preciousness, and yet we tend to be so caught up in our head with things that are really completely irrelevant to our beingness. We want to become more relevant to our beingness, and then we become the best example of love wherever we are. There's no, and I think that's the essence of this whole conversation with the three of us. There's no turning this on and off. I mean, it happens because our brains will kick in, or something will cross our path.
Yeah,
and
we get lost.
We get lost. But it is something that we find as we practice day after day after day. It becomes such a magical world because things become so synchronistic and coincidental. Intuition kicks in. You're in the right place at the right time, doing the right thing. And if you're slightly off, you catch it really quick. If you have an interaction and a reaction, you can come back to center and go back into a positive action. This is really how we change the world, but we're not changing the world. We're embracing ourselves, which changes the world.
Right.
I absolutely love that, Harold. And one of our guests, Danny Ellie, says the angel within. Whoa, that was whoa. That gave me goosies. The angel within. And so what are some of the practical ways, because we're talking and you were mentioning a lot of what are the practical ways, it's not only the woo-woo or the big thought, but what are some of the practical ways that we can start to experience that unconditional love in this moment?
The question that I started with very early on, it's one that I asked the question and I answered it for myself, is, do I love myself unconditionally? And I often ask the question, do you love yourself unconditionally? It's such an interesting question, because up until I asked myself, no one had ever asked. Up until I ask others, no one's ever been asked. And it's the most basic place to start, because it tells us really how far in or out of alignment we are with ourselves.
Right.
Because if we react to it and say it's not possible, or it's impossible, there's a myriad of reasons why not, the simple act of asking the question reveals the answer. And maybe not in that moment, but it reveals itself over time. And what I'll say is, like, start with liking yourself. If unconditional love to yourself is too far away, start with liking, because what will happen is you'll start to realize what's there not to love. If the past is a past and the future is a thought form, there's only right now. So if you were ever going to love yourself unconditionally, when would you want to do it? Well, you want to do it next Tuesday? If it's now, right now, next Tuesday at noon, when you say you might be ready to do it, it's now. So why not do it now? Because then it's behind you. If you can answer the question, I'm doing this rapidly, by the way, because out of indifference to the time, but when you ask the question right now, if you can answer it genuinely and really embrace yourself completely, that means you have already loved yourself unconditionally once in this lifetime, which means you now have a foundation pun intended, of love, which it doesn't mean that you always stay there, but what it does mean is most people would aspire to unconditional love as the most altruistic goal. But if you can actually answer it for yourself and in this here and now, it becomes the foundation, which means if you ever go away from that, you just return to where you started in the love. And therefore it's in you as a foundation. It's no longer something you're pursuing. It's now something you realize you are, and that's something that you keep expanding. And it's interesting because we have Buddy here on the screen.
This is
I
bad.
often love to say this because most of humanity
He
has,
just can't stay away today.
most of
With all-
humanity
he
has
loves
two
the love.
versions of unconditional love. It's either God or dog. Man says man.
Mhm.
And isn't it interesting? None of us have been given the insights and awareness or the, I would say, culturally or socially permission to love ourselves unconditionally, to see ourselves as creator beings, to see ourselves with all the ability to thought, feeling, and manifestation. We
Mhm.
are
Right.
the manifestation. We are the leading edge right here, right now. We're the ones that have access to all of it. And we're the ones that are making this reality, this cosmos happen by our thoughts and our feelings and our interactions, our connection to ourselves. We're so much larger than we ever imagined ourselves to be. And we're
Right.
not even
Well, and
at
that's
this point at
the
the tip.
problem. You know, I think that's what we are confronting is we've been taught that we're limited in ways that are not true.
Right.
And we're taught that we're not lovable unless, you know, unless we have certain physical characteristics or age, or if we're, you know, we have this IQ test or whatever it is that we think is us. We are, as Harold said, we're magnificent spiritual beings. We're much bigger than this.
And
And I
that's
think
something that we've come to understand, which is so simple and yet so profound, because there are, I mean, when we started doing this, there wasn't even much vocabulary for what we were doing 20 and 30 years ago. It
right,
has expanded so rapidly that we can discuss what we talk about universally anywhere, and people are responding to it, which is so beautiful. That's why I say, you know, there may seem to be tons of chaos everywhere. In fact, there is, and it's really because our belief systems are changing. We're opening up, we're expanding our consciousness. And so it's going to outpicture as chaotic. It's like moving from one house, dismantling everything, putting in a moving truck, and then setting up house somewhere else. This is the chaos time. You know, we haven't fully landed in the new house and we haven't put the pictures up on the wall, but we are in that process. And it's a profound process because, again, we can all here attest to where we came from. Everyday living, beating the drum that everybody told us to beat. And here we are doing something completely different. And yet it's so much more tangibly real than anything I could have ever imagined.
right. Yeah.
Mm.
I just want to take a moment to acknowledge the people who are joining us and commenting. Some of our good friends, Gerald Ann Peterson,
hello,
Heather
Gerald Ann.
Dale is here. And I think your friend Phoenixx, Kevin Fortune is here,
Yeah.
and Danny L. And we just want to thank everybody for being here, because this is a way to make it practical,
Yeah.
is to be in it and recognize the value of it, and then find ways to remind yourself. Of course, I wore my heart scarf and my heart necklace. I wear hearts pretty much every day. I make sure that I have at least one heart on.
And Buddy helps.
it's-
Buddy just jumps in your lap and you're
Yeah,
instantly
Buddy.
reminded.
Yeah, and which reminded me also at one point, and this wasn't that many years ago. I can't remember how many, maybe less than 10, I bet. I asked myself, what is love? And I realized in my mind, love is connectedness. So when we
Yes.
love, it's like I love Buddy, and Buddy loves me, and I think he loves this energy that we're vibrating here.
Oh,
And we're connected, and all of us, I think, are connected. And it is, and that's our natural state.
Yeah.
And again, that's
Yes.
what's actually, that's the state that fosters healing. It fosters, I think, more more blessings to come to our lives. everything that we want is there with love. It's connectedness.
So we share one of the tenets in Global Love Day, interconnected and interdependent. And if you look at nature, everything is connected. So what we see may be a tree, but there's whole ranges of living organisms underneath the soil that connect for miles and miles, if not further. Well,
Yeah.
a volcano does its job here, but it affects the planet. You know, everything on our planet is affected by everything else. Well, now we're realizing that solar flares are affecting our planet. Well, we're affecting the solar flares, the electromagnetics. Everything's a circle. Well,
Yeah.
we now understand that there's water everywhere. I mean, that's not what I was taught in high school, but now we know there's water everywhere. Well, we're also realizing that the nova that explode out in the cosmos are the seeds of the atomic structure that made up the earth. Well, we come from the earth, so we're stardust, you know, and that's cosmic, you know, so it's like, it's all connected. And I think the biggest challenge that we have to overcome is the inertia of this feeling of separateness, because we feel our bodies localized to a body, which in fact, we know we have electromagnetic bodies, which means we know we extend, call it an aura, call it whatever. We're vibrating beyond our body. We are vibration at that point if we go quantum.
Mm-hmm.
So quantum, it just feels a vibration moving about. Well, this is scientific and it's spiritual at the same time. Two sides of the same coin. It's living with that connectedness and then realizing everywhere we go, we're connected to the earth, we're connected to each other. We might think we're on Zoom doing, you know, things out in the ethers coming together, but we are in fact on the planet together. So therefore we're automatically connected. Every vibration of love that we amplifies the vibration of love on the planet. So I often share with people, there's such a feeling of hopelessness at times, because if you read news and you say, oh, there's something going on 50 miles away or 5,000 miles away, you know, hopeless to fix that. But you can do everything right where you're at. Just being a vibration of love will add to the light and love 5,000 miles away. If when we're moving about in our local community or our own family, if we're vibrating in love, we're affecting their vibrational pattern, and that has an exponential effect. So it is not hopeless. It is, in fact, it's quite the contrary. We have so much personal power, we don't even realize it. And we are affecting change based on where we place our attention, where our thoughts and feelings are, and why we've dedicated our lives to love. Is we realize, you know, all the songs tell us it's the missing ingredient. Well, then let's cease it to be missing.
Let's
be an example of it.
Right.
Make more of it, right?
Right. If love is the solution, let's go there.
Exactly.
I absolutely love the love is connectedness. And I think for sometimes when we hear the word love, because it has been misused and overused and misplaced and created in different contexts. But then when we start to think of love as connectedness, that it means that we are connected to everything and to everyone. And I absolutely love what Harold said with regards to sometimes you feel powerless to help someone who is thousands of miles away. You might see something, but just that thought, if we remember, and now it's becoming, you know, science is making it more public and more knowledge and awareness about it. But spirituality, I always say spirituality is on the cutting edge and then science concludes. But, you know, we have known this. And so what we are doing and what Harold's Foundation is doing in terms of expanding that love is what then helps to change the planet, what then helps to change the world. So that's sending a silent blessing. Sometimes, you know, I want to be able to give all homeless people homes. That's just one of my things, you know, build homes for everybody. Everybody has somewhere to live. But at this point in time, it's, you know, not at this point in time possible. So what I do, I bless them. And I know the energy that I send to those persons in whatever sphere they might be in or whatever their need might be. I know that in some way they receive it. I might not be able to witness the end result of what it looks like tangibly, but the mere fact that we are connected and I send that energy out, or we send that energy out, we are such powerful beings as Harold was saying. And it just gives us, and Jane says this a lot, we matter.
Right.
We matter, and that is one of the ways that we can re-emphasize how much we matter by just sending blessings of love outwards to some persons. And for me, it's a feeling, because sometimes, because again, love has been so, the word so misused, and we have the idea of love as a romantic expression or for our families only. Sometimes it's so in our heads, but when we start to feel into, for instance, our pets, and we feel that connection with them, that expression, exchange with them, it brings me right back to, okay, this is what unconditional love feels like. And so once I feel it within me, I can then extend it out with our intention, as Geraldine said, with our intention. Just imagine that we're just beaming it out, our hearts are beaming out. And that is as tangible as this glass.
Yeah.
I would
And
add to
I
that.
think it's a really important point for everybody to understand, that the idea that we do matter. And I know it's important to me, because there was a time when I felt I didn't matter. When I was an architect, it was like nothing really that I was doing, I felt made much of a difference in the world, and I felt powerless. Anybody can vibrate love. So, and if you doubt that you matter, this is the easiest thing in the world to do. You don't have to leave your house. And when you do, you can, I like to just say hi and smile at people and make them feel happier. Just whatever you're doing. And if you're living in a space and you're radiating love out, you're improving the energy in your neighborhood. So wherever you go, you're, like Harold said too. Sorry. You're a beam of light that is making a difference in the world.
And I would add to this, so it can seem wonderful as we sit here and share this because we understand this so well. When we go out and when we're sharing this love unconditionally, this divine love, this universal love, it isn't always that easy when we come across something that we react to that we think is horribly wrong with the world, and something or someone or someones who are acting with very little love, and therefore they seem to be usurping their connectedness in a way that is negatively impacting lots of people. I can say this over many years, it is an interesting practice to continue to practice this. So as I said, original book titled Freeing the Angel Within, what we're saying is we have our own divinity, we have our own angel within. We are an angel, we are walking angels in physical bodies. It is a real testament of unconditional love when we can walk around in the world and witness things that are discomforting or challenging or uncomfortable or atrocious or whatever label you want to place upon it, and catch ourselves quickly enough to remember that connectedness, that someone who is acting perhaps out of fear or in hate or bigotry or something that is humanly horrendous, the greatest gift we can give is in that instant see them as the angel they are, see them as their own divinity, because this is not us and them, this is all us. There is no us and them. And that becomes where this goes really quite exponential, when we can gaze upon things that are at times really goes against the heart and in the ways that we would understand it, but to realize that if we can see another individual or another group or another culture with that same level of love, unconditional, we are sending waves of light that they then have an opportunity to awaken themselves at some point. Maybe not in that instance, maybe not in the next so many moments. But when we're talking about sending out universal light and love, it is universal. It isn't like I'm sending out light and love to help the poor and the infirmed or the homeless. You also got to remember that there are lots of very challenged wealthy people. They're very challenged people in power, very challenged people in greed. So the light that we're speaking of, the love that we're speaking of is universal. It knows what to do, where to go, and how to behave. it then gives people an opportunity, because if everybody else is beaming their hatred towards something they don't like, we might be the only person on the planet saying, I'm going to beam you love. And that might be the one point of love that sparks something in that individual to have an epiphany, to wake up. So this is where the pathway gets bigger, and shall we say the responsibility, as it were, the understanding becomes more potent, because we can't just turn on our light and love in a moment. You know, a lot of religions, they do it for 2 hours on a Sunday. Well, what about the rest of the time? You know,
Or we have
for us,
1
we're
hour here.
talking about all day, every day. So we're talking about when we're in the car and somebody cuts us off. You know, we're talking about, you know, something we might see in the news. These are opportunities where we affect life in even grander ways, because we're going beyond what we think we see, and we're remembering what's really happening. They're soul being too. They have all the potential for love. They have all the potential to be grand and magnificent. They just have been told otherwise, and they believed it. So they're so disconnected from their own love. Well, what do they need? More hatred, more comeuppance, more revenge, more.
Right.
They want love. Now, do we say it necessarily to the face? Not always practical. But we can in our heart.
Or necessary.
Or necessary, and nor would they necessarily even be able to hear us. But it is an important aspect of this conversation, because it can sound real loosey-goosey. It's all fun to sit in our house and love. But this is where this understanding has become so profound for us, because this is really how we're making substantial difference on the planet, because we're seeing the interconnectedness of everything. So a storm or a tsunami or a volcano or an earthquake, that's just the play of Earth. And we don't see it as how many dollars did it destroy or how many lives did it. We're seeing it as an interconnected aspect of us. And how can we be more attuned to what how we're interacting with the earth, how we're interacting with each other, with the animal kingdom, the plant kingdom, the mineral kingdom. Now they want to fly off to other planets. So now we're going to have to start considering what's our effect on other planets. You know? But this is why I became so enamored with love, with an understanding, because it's so pervasive in absolutely everything. And it does really kind of test your alignment with real love, because it's easy when we're sheltered or in groups that are similar in awareness. But when you're out in the world, really, and that's what we designed the Love Foundation, was mainstream. We very specifically designed the Love Foundation to have a very universal mainstream message. For example, Global Love Day, we have 766 proclamations from governors, mayors, city councils, the Dalai Lama, you know, other countries, Canada and England.
That's beautiful.
It's a universal message. We have no political clout whatsoever. We simply broadcast this message every year. And over these years, we've had the responses from 30 governors in the United States and over 250 cities, you know, throughout the United States, because all walks of life, every person on the planet understands and wants more love. But what they're not realizing is it's this universal love that's already within us. So everyone's aspiring to it. Are we going to be seed planters? Or are we going to nurture it? That's what we're here. That's really why I think this conversation is so powerful, because it is all day, every day for us. Not because we have to, nobody told us we have to, but it's because we can't not do it. I mean, I can't, you know, every morning, 31 years consciously doing this, I don't know how to turn it off. I don't want to turn it off, because this is what makes me feel alive in the world. Because,
it's aliveness.
Exactly.
And it is aliveness.
It is.
When you realize that, then it makes sense. Yeah. I'd like to take a few minutes for guided visualization, and we can envision a more loving world. And I do want to begin also by making this part of the presentation practical in terms of daily life also, because when we're talking about vibrating love, and Harold spoke earlier about being in the moment, really the thing that takes us away from ourselves is when we're in momentums. So I have this thought, it's kind of like momentum or moment. and if you just become aware not of all these universal love and etc. And just become aware that you're in a momentum and maybe you're afraid or anxious. There's anxiety and, and stress that comes along with it. You can just stop for a moment and breathe.
Yep.
And I think that's, we have something actually on the Circle of Love and Light. It's not the circleofloveandlight.org. You can go there, and if you join the circle, which is free, there is a 1-minute meditation, which is really just sitting or standing, just taking a break from whatever the momentum is and breathing. And then if you are guided, you can breathe love. You can invite love from above to filter into your space and breathe that. And just notice, I think just a few breaths can make such a huge difference. And then you're in that place, you're making a positive contribution.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And another thing that I think is very practical is if we imagine so much of humanity living in that kind of momentum, stressful, anxious, confused, all of that space, sometimes we compare it to, I can't get rid of Buddy, he's just loving this. Compare it to wallowing around in the mud. So you could say when you're in that momentum or whatever, so many people are wallowing around in fear and anxiety and all those things, and also just not very resourceful in that place, because when you're anxious or fearful, you're vibrating at a level that is not very resourceful. And again, you can just close your eyes for a moment, and we can all do this together now and just take a little journey. Imagine that you can breathe in lighter energy, which you can. And as you do that, then you can begin to float, like you can float upward. And just the imagination in your mind of going to a higher place actually takes you to a higher place in your mind and your spirit. So you can imagine just rising up now, and we'll go together to a beautiful lofty mountaintop with a magnificent 360-degree view of the world around us. One of those places that's so magnificent. And we can imagine arriving there together, even in a circle, maybe. And just noticing you can see for miles. And this is another thing that expands your perspective, is either viewing an expansive view or just imagining an expansive view. Like imagining that you're from the top of the mountaintop, you can see the whole world and its magnificence around you. Or if you're imagining being on the beach at sunset, which is so magical to us, just these little things that you can actually do in a moment can change your state to a really big degree. And also metaphorically, having done healing and coaching work and spiritual work for so many years, I realized in visualizations, people often see the sun above them, or they see a cloudy day and there's no sun. Well, the sun is our source of light. And from the mountaintop, that beautiful sun is shining down on us, and we can bring in more of that light and love from there. Just allow yourself to receive all of that light and love. Just simple. These are simple things. But they're metaphorical. They're very energetically and vibratory, in vibratory ways. They're enhancing of the experience of opening to love. Because from the mountaintop, it's much easier to understand that we're all connected. In nature, everything is connected. And from the mountaintop, we can also send that love out to the world. This is another thing. In any moment, we can imagine the world the way that we want it to be. A place where everybody loves one another, so no one starves. There is no war. We love the environment. We love the other beings that are on the planet. So the environment is beautiful and everything is full of energy and light. This is the thing that got me originally, is realizing that if everyone was guided by love, we wouldn't have any of the problems that we have now. It's healthier too. And this is our opportunity actually to open to what might be possible in that place. My sense personally is that when we arrive in a place, that kind of a place energetically and in relation to our resourcefulness, we'll also find solutions to pollution and all of these other things that affect us. So there's so much that's possible for us. And it's all here with us in this moment. We can envision this world anytime. Gerald Ann was with us last week, and she had a little globe and she held it in her hands and just surrounded it with love. They're just little simple things make a huge difference. So I'm curious for both of you, Phoenixx and Harold, what comes to mind with being on the mountaintop and opening to that ability to have a loving world.
There you go, Phoenixx. Tell us.
That is one of my favorite visualizations. I am always taken to a mountain in Cotswold in England, and it's just imagining that, as you know, because we can use our imagination, and I love that. Just imagine everyone is on the mountaintop, and just the crisp air, the ability to breathe freely, and the sun shining, not too hot, but shining
Just
down.
feels nurturing.
It just feels so empowering, feels so much alive and aligned. And that's when I feel this is who I am. This is who I am when I'm in that state of alignment, which equals love for me. When I'm vibrating in love, I'm aligned to who I truly am. And just imagining that everyone, all 8 billion of us, I believe, that we remember who we are, that we are love itself, and that everyone is operating from that space. And yes, I am a dreamer, a big dreamer.
You're not the only one.
Yes.
We hope someday you'll join us.
Well, I'll just throw in my version is always my mountaintop is the opening scene of Sound of Music with Julie Andrews. That's my mountaintop. The big grassy field, because I have a German background, so the Alps and everything really resonate to me. And I just kind of kick Julie out of the picture and I just twirl around on the beautiful grassy fields of the mountains.
The hills are alive.
Well, one thing that I would share to add and to underscore, as you said, being on the mountaintop, being guided with love for all humanity. We are all being guided by love all the time. Love is always present. This is something I just became so distinctly clear and aware of. The love is always present. Therefore, we're always being guided by love. The difference is our receptivity and the allowing of all that coming to us. So we either allow it in its fullness or we pinch it off. So it's not really that we're detached from love, love's present, but we're always being guided. And the more we tune into loving guidance, the more that loving guidance can provide a smoother pathway for us and bring about the removal of obstacles and open our hearts up to dreams. You know, that's my case. I never expected to be doing any of the things I'm doing. That was not my trajectory in my business career, working full-time and going to school full-time. And yet when I opened my heart and said I wanted to know myself, it put me on such a completely different pathway of exploration to where I'm interacting with people around the world. That was never part of the original plan. So it takes courage at times to let go of what we think we're supposed to be doing. Again, trying to be happy for everybody else is not a good place to be. Aligning with the love we are is
Yeah.
a far more powerful place to be. And at first we might be an isolated island, or we might be the only one on the mountaintop. That's the way it might feel. But in truth, we're always connected because love is always connected. So we've got the
Mhm.
infinity of the cosmos of intelligence and consciousness at our fingertips in every breath. And that's what's so fascinating about tuning into love, because its presence is there. It gives us a completely different place of solution. And it really makes what we consider the current problems dissolve. And because
Right.
we are given new
Yeah. It's
solutions.
so fascinating when you realize how simple it is.
Yes, it is.
It's
You
simple,
wonder,
but
why didn't we do this in previous lifetimes?
right.
I
Yeah.
think it was
I want to mention
Dr.
also Smiley Me New says hi to Harold. Is that someone you know?
Smiley is
Smiley?
our board member now from Malaysia.
Oh,
So
how
she's
wonderful.
joining us
Yeah, hi,
tomorrow.
Smiley.
Hi, Smiley. Welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
and John Goltz.
That's my husband. Hello,
That's
John.
a big heart. Welcome, John. I was just going to say that Dr. Wayne Dyer said, no matter what the question, love is the answer.
Absolutely. And I hope in conversations like this, and Jane, I particularly appreciate you creating the Circle of Love and Light. We've had a long history of collaboration anyway. We share, this so fundamentally in
Right.
you and Philip. And
Yeah.
but because we are individuals sharing messages like this, we are broadcasting a different, not an alternate reality, an alternative to the current reality, an existing reality that coexists with what everybody's living. So we're simply saying, yes, we are aware of the stress, we're aware of the chaos, we're aware of all the challenges because we've all lived them and lived them. What we are saying is that it doesn't have to be so hard. We can
Right.
make it easy, and there's no one that can do it for us.
Mhm.
These words that we share are just our examples of what's possible. Anyone that's tuning in can do so much more than we're doing, so much faster than we've done it, simply by tuning to love. And hopefully they will understand that they are loved. We understand we love them. We love everyone that's tuning in, those that aren't even aware that they're tuning in, because we've come to a realization of this connectedness that is so powerful. And there's only us. Of course, why would I not love another aspect of me? If I learn to love me, then I'm going to naturally love all the aspects of me, even the ones I don't necessarily like. I can still love them.
Mhm.
Yes,
Right.
yes.
I wanted to mention too, for just daily stimulation, that if you join the Love Foundation, then you will receive from Harold and John a beautiful message every day of love. And
Yes.
I think, Harold, you said you have already 2,500 of
Yeah,
the messages. Just it's really beautiful. And joining us here.
absolutely.
All of these things are just different ways that you can feel like you're not the only one, maybe
We're
too.
little islands of sanctuary that says, here, come this way. And it doesn't matter who or what you participate with. It's that there is more about love available than beyond even us. And
Right.
whatever a person needs, go pursue that, because when you open a door, there's magic behind it. There's possibilities. If you stand staring at a door and you refuse to touch it or knock on it or open it, then you just stay where you're at. And that's not, we all have proven that we're really glad we opened some doors, because once we opened them, we found
Yeah,
that
it
there were no
changed
more
everything.
doors, and it was one big, beautiful cosmos to go explore.
Yeah. Yeah. And
I
it
just
is,
want
it's
to read,
life.
I just wanted to read two of the quotes, or one of the quotes from the Love Foundation. Just the energy coming from the page. I think if you guys haven't liked the pages yet, please do so. Loving reverence for others begins with respect for ourselves. The transformational power of love begins with me and you. Everyone is worthy, for each is a universal expression of love. Such uplifting. Just when you read them, it's like, oh, I feel so good. Could get on my day.
Right.
now.
And that's, changes your state.
Yes.
And that's really what we're saying. When you change that state, you become alive, you become enlivened. Life has meaning, life has purpose. There's no purpose of we're not here to fulfill anything. We're here to live. We're here to be alive in every moment, whether it's over a cup of tea or jogging down the beach or working at a desk. We can be alive wherever we are because we're connected with ourselves. And I think that's why I enjoy this type of conversation so much, because it is so practical. You know, you don't have to go off somewhere. You don't have to be with you don't have to prove yourself to anybody. You don't even have to prove yourself to yourself. You just simply say, oh gosh, I love me. I'm okay. I'm good. I mean, good place to start, because again, if you're not your own best friend, it's a long, hard, arduous lifetime, because you have to live with you all the time. It's your head, it's your heart. And if you don't like what you're living with, don't go running for somebody else. Start with yourself. Just become a real good friend to yourself. You'll be amazed at what's possible. Things you can't even imagine at the moment will come into your reality that will take you off in directions, and you'll find skills and things that you never knew you were capable of.
Right. Well, the idea of connectedness, it does relate to connectedness also to magic and miracles. And it might seem kind of lofty to some people, but if you really think about the absence of separation, what that can mean potentially for any of us as individuals, when we're in a place of connectedness and focusing on the world as we want it, or our world, our lives as we want them, it makes a difference.
And then while we're
Buddy just is loving it.
Agrees.
Buddy's actually calmed down quite a bit in
ever.
this conversation. But even if you think like trillions of cells doing trillions of things, I mean, we're hearing voices right now, but that's really air passing through voice boxes, and then it's going out as air particles, and in this case, you know, electronic particles over electronics, and then we're interpreting what we're hearing. And there's a resonance and a vibration that goes with all that. But just the simple idea that right here as we're sitting, whether we're participating or watching, trillions of cells doing trillions of things. If that's not a miracle, where are you going to go look for one? We are walking miracles. It's such a brilliant plan when you think the proximity of the earth to the sun and the moon, and you know, the just the magnificence that exists all around us. And for me, it's certainly, I'm a big advocate for changing the vocabulary. So I ditched the word work when I quit doing that. So for me, this is play. So other people call it work, but I call it play, because then I'm always present with my play. And it doesn't matter how many hours I put into it, because to me, I'm here to serve love and light. I'm here to be love and light. And we can all do this. And I think that's what's so magnificent with what we're sharing, is that it doesn't matter where you've come from. All of this exists as a potential right here, right now. You don't have to become something more. You don't have to forgive everything. You don't have to do 27 steps. It's right here, right now. It's simply a decision of intention. And everything else takes care of itself from that.
Thank you. Yeah, that's
I like that. A decision of intention. Codes, Harold.
That might be a good place to close here. I hate to have to close. We're having such a good time, but our time is coming to an end. And I want to thank both of you for your beautiful contributions. This has been, as Buddy has noticed, a wonderful time that we've had together.
Really
Buddy was literally a junkyard dog at one time, and he's so happy to be in a loving
He's
place.
now the love puppy.
He is. He is.
And I want to make a special request for myself personally. My account has been deactivated on Facebook, and this has been happening for a while. So anyone who wants to envision with me that I can be back, that would be wonderful. I also want to just offer an opportunity. Harold, do you have any other thoughts on how people can connect with the Love Foundation?
thelovefoundation.com, globalloveday.com. We're all over. We have Facebook pages, and we also have 3 groups. All of that can be accessed through lovefoundation.com. We have a YouTube channel with over 270 videos of inspiration. Wow. We have a free app for Android and iPhone that can give you daily anytime during the day inspiration. So we have a lot of free resources available, and I welcome anyone to reach out through text message, through email, contact us through the form. Always love to hear from people around the world.
Right. And that's a wonderful thing with what you're doing and us too, that I found so wonderful is having those connections. We've had people involved on every continent
Yeah.
and I know you do too. It's wonderful. And
Yes.
we appreciate people from all over the world.
And Phoenixx, we love your smile. Thank you also for co-hosting. It's a pleasure.
Yeah. Do you have
I will be following
say-
you, so we're connected.
Phoenixx, would you like to tell people how they can learn more about you?
Definitely. I am Phoenixx Rising, 2 X's. I am Phoenixx Rising. That's my website. I'm Phoenixx Rising. That is my Instagram, Facebook as well. So I can be reached there, and I have a weekly Wednesday meditation, live guided meditation on Instagram Live. It's for everyone, but it's specific. It's directed to light workers and people who want to show up more powerful in the work, to shine their light, to beam their light of love. So we meet every Wednesday at 6 p.m. AST, and we use the power
That's the same as EST.
as
Eastern time. Yeah, right now.
And we use the power of group energy to heal, grow, and expand. So you can find me everywhere.
Oh, thank you. And you can learn more about all of us in the love and the circle at circleofloveandlight.org, as I mentioned before. And finally, to everyone who's listening, you have our greatest gratitude for being here and adding your uniquely special love to this gathering and to the world. If you enjoy the circle, you can also help us to get the word out, get the word out to the world. And here are a couple things you can do. If you're on Facebook, you can share this video with your friends. You can also invite friends personally to join us here and to join the Love Foundation. The more the merrier, I'm sure, for all of us. And we hope that you can join us next week when we take this further into the realms of love and light. So thanks again to both of you. This has been delightful. And
Absolutely.
have a wonderful week, everybody.
Have
Oh, I
a
forgot,
wonderful
send
week.
that love out to the week ahead.
Yes,
Every moment can be filled with love.
absolutely.
So thank you.